Hey friends, how are you? I'm back again, and hopefully you have sound this time. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if you are able to hear me. I was showing you the 3 different colors of ribbons that I made, and I'm going to make one more with you today. Who wouldn't love to win a purple ribbon for their quilt? I think that normally we have red, yellow, and blue for first, second, and third place. I'm going to do a special ribbon that will be best use of or best interpretation of the theme, because I think it would be really fun to award somebody a purple ribbon. Yeah, Doreen says we've got sound. Okay, fabulous. So come on over here to my workstation. You're going to be able to see what I'm doing from here. I'm not going to change my camera because I don't want to lose my sound again. So let me move my challenge quilt that I'm currently working on. That's going to come with me to New Hampshire today because I haven't made my quilt for the Guild Challenge. So I'm making all the ribbons, but I haven't made my version of the challenge quilt yet. I've got it half done, but I haven't finished. So I went and looked through all of my fabric and I said, what would make a good ribbon color for a bonus ribbon? Not for first, second, or third place, but for either the president's choice. So the president of the guild could give out a ribbon, or best interpretation of the theme. So I'm going to grab my rulers and I'm going to use Rings and Things. I'm going to use Hearts and More, template D for my 5-inch circle. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut out those circles. Now, normally I would cut out my circles using a rotating mat. But today I don't have a rotating mat handy because I packed up all of my rotating mats for my Christmas baubles class that I'm teaching tomorrow. So instead, I'm going to make my circles on a straight mat. And I'm going to leave enough room around the corner of the table. See if I can get my chair arms out of the way here so you can see the corner of that table. Oh, it's better. It's not perfect, but that's okay. There we go. So I'm going to be cutting out my circles from this fabric right here and make a purple ribbon. So it goes from a red purple to a bluer purple and then to blue. And for those of you that remember, this is the gradation fabric I made my gradations quilt with. This is the So Batik gradations. And I love the reddish purple and I love the bluish purple, but I don't want to have the blue on that ribbon because I feel as though it's going to look too much like the blue ribbon. So let's see what else we have to play with. I've got this pretty purple that goes from light to dark as well, but it's not wide enough to make my biggest rosette. So I'm going to need to make a combination of colors from that fabric, or maybe this fabric right here. This goes from purple to blue, and I really like the purple side. So this could be my lightest color in the rosette. This could be the darkest color. And maybe this one right here could be the medium color, but I don't think I have enough of this fabric. It's not wide enough. So I'm thinking that I'm going to go from the blue purple to the red purple to the light purple. And I think that will make a beautiful rosette. Now let me see. I've got one more purple color over here, which is really pretty. I don't know what company this is, but it's a pretty fabric as well. But I think it might be just a little bit too blue to go with these other pieces. So I think I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to use these 3, and let's see how that rosette comes out with those 3 fabrics. So the first thing that I'm going to do is get my fabric either ironed or just make sure it's smooth enough so that I can cut my biggest circle. And I'm going to fold my fabric so that I can cut a full 9-inch circle. So on my Rings and Things tools, and these are the newer tools, I've got a template 2 has a 9-inch circle, and that's going to be great for that rosette because it's going to make it nice and big. So I'm going to fold my fabric up by 4.5 inches or a little bit more, maybe 5 inches. Then I'm going to place the tool on the fold of the fabric. And I just noticed that there's no Grace True Grips on this tool. And I really want Grace True Grips on my tool to prevent it from slipping. So instead, I'm going to have to be really careful that this doesn't slip. And after I do this demo, I'm going to go ahead and put True Grips on my tool. So I'm going to cut around here, and I'm going to rotate around the table so that I can cut that full circle without cutting in an awkward position. So whenever you don't have a rotating mat to use, you can walk around the corner of your table instead. So here is going to be the darkest color for my rosette. And then maybe I'm going to get into this other color here. Or do I want the blue purple for the outside and then the, yeah, I think I'm going to use the blue purple for the outside. So this one right here, I'm going to cut into a 9-inch circle, and I'm going to cut that 9-inch circle down to 7. Well, that's going to be kind of fun to cut that circle down to 7 because it's going to leave me with a circle ring. Now, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to like those two colors together because there's not much contrast between those two. They are pretty much the same depth of shade. So I think what's going to happen is let me play. Let me see and fold these and see what looks best. And I might use one or the other, but not both. Then for the middle layer, I just tossed aside some fabric, and I might want to go grab that fabric back again and make that middle layer slightly different because these two are just too similar in the depth of shade. And I don't think it's going to make a nice little rosette color. So let's go to my third color here. This is beautiful, but it really is very, very light. So I think that that's going to have to be my 5-inch circle for the center. But I could use it as the 7-inch center and then find something else for the 5. Maybe this very, very light on this end right here, which is only 5 inches wide. That may make a good center as well. Those two seem very similar to me, but let's go ahead and cut them and see. So I'm going to cut one of these with the 7-inch circle, folding it up by 3.5 inches or a little bit more, and then cutting our 7-inch circle. Now we also have to decide which fabric is going to be used for the ribbons down below. And for the ribbons, we need a piece of fabric that's 4 inches by 22 to 23 inches. I'm going to go with 23 just to make sure I've got plenty of length on there. Okay, so I can have either this purple with this one or this purple with this one. Those really go beautifully together. I have to find a third color, and I'm not really 100% sure what that third color is going to be. Look at this one. This is kind of pretty. It's a little bit more blue than it is purple, but it is kind of pretty. So let's give that one a shot and see how that one works out. Let's cut this one at 7 as well and see what colors go best together. So I could cut that really light one down to 5, and I could use this slightly darker one for the 7. Let's give that a shot. That might just work. Now, how these colors all go together, they're all from different fabric lines, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to go together. That's why I love to just test, get my pieces cut. If it doesn't cut beautifully the first time, go ahead and clean it up around the edges. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I'm liking that. We've got 3 different shades of purple there, and I think they're different enough, so it's going to make them look really pretty. Now, this one goes beautifully here. What about these 3 together? Not quite so pretty, I don't think. I think I like these 3 better. Okay, so if we have 3 that we like, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one down, or maybe I'm going to like this one better. Let's give that a shot. 1, 2, 3. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, it's so hard to choose. Let me go ahead and cut this one into 5 and see what happens with that one. So the 5-inch circle is on Hearts and More template D. This one I do have the true grips on, so that's going to be much easier to cut when it's not sliding around on my table. Well, I have a lot of this fabric, so I'm not worried about wasting the fabric. However, I know that I'm going to need to make some more ribbons over the course of my lifetime. So I'm going to keep all these fabrics together in a little bin marked ribbons. And then I will get to decide which 3 go together. Once I make this one, I'm going to decide which one I like best. We're going to play around with our different colors. And let's get this one done. Oh, I've got one more color of purple over here. Nope, it's the same one. Okay, so let's get our rosette made. So we're ironing all 3 pieces, and now we need a pencil or a pen or a chalk marker. I'm going to use a regular lead pencil, and I'm going to place that tool that I cut my circle with, so Hearts and More D first, place it right over that 5-inch circle and mark the center. Oh, I just broke my lead right in there. There's a little hole in the center of your tool, and if you're careful, you can mark right through there with a sharp pencil or even a ballpoint pen. And it doesn't really matter if you use a ballpoint pen, because that little dot is not going to show in your finished ribbon. That ribbon or that little dot is going to be where you sew the button on, and your ribbons are going to be folded, so you won't see that little dot. But I do need a sharp pencil. I broke the lead on my pencil. This one's much sharper. Let's go ahead and try this one. Okay, so I'm just putting it down and just twisting it in my fingers to get a nice little circle in the center, or a nice little dot in the center of my circle. So here's the 7-inch. Mark our dot. Here is the 9-inch. Mark my dot. I'm looking at my clock because I'm doing a presentation today up in New Hampshire, and I have to leave you by 12 o'clock at the latest to make sure that I can meet with my team and meet with the guild on time today. So how are we going to make this rosette? Well, we're looking at that center dot, and we're going to fold our edge of our circle up to the center dot, and we're going to press. Okay, we are going to fold this circle 6 times to make our rosette. So now we're going to take this corner right here at the bottom of the line that we just pressed, put it towards yourself, and then push it away, matching that corner with the dot. Now give it a finger press and then give it a hot press. We really do want to give these a hot press. A finger press is going to be really nice because it keeps everything 3-dimensional and puffy and beautiful. However, it's not as accurate, and you really need a nice hot press in order for these rosettes to come out exactly into a hexagon. Hexagon. Yeah. Sometimes I say octagon by mistake, but I'm correct. It is a hexagon. That's a 6-sided geometric figure. So right up to the center, every time you fold, you're bringing that edge at the end of the fold line up to the center. And we're going to do it one more time. End of the fold line up to the center. And then make sure this one comes out to a point right here. So what you're making is that beautiful kite shape. And English paper piecers use hexagons and kite shapes all the time. But I don't want you to use this kite shape for English paper piecing, the way that it's folded, because right here there's no seam allowance included. So you've got a raw edge at that point. So we're going to fold that point right to the center. Then we're going to press it in place. Okay, so that point goes right to the center. We're going to press that in place for the 6th side on our hexagon. And now that that's all pressed in place, we've got a beautiful hexagon that we could use for English paper piecing. Now, after we make our hexagon, we want it to stay closed. And this last little fold, that's always popping open. So we don't want to have that little tail on our hexagon. We want this to be integrated into the hexagon. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Now, my son keeps coming downstairs. He must need me for something. So I'm sorry if we get interrupted, but I'm going to have to probably end a bit early and jump upstairs and see what they need me for. The reason why I'm going to prioritize that today is because they are purchasing a new monitor for me to bring to my quilt guild today. And I have to make sure they don't need my input because we are on a time crunch. I'm getting to the guild at, I have to leave for the guild at 2 o'clock today. So I might have to just cut this a little short, but let's go ahead and fold another one of these hexagons. But I want to show you why I tucked in that end and how I tuck in that end in order to make my hexagon into a nice flat shape that doesn't open up. So in other words, all of these folds are nested. You can put something into the fold every time from the right-hand side as you spin that hexagon around. Why is that important? Because just like a box top, when you're folding in a cardboard box, you want these folds to hold each other down so nothing pops up and opens up when you least expect it. So let's do that again. We're going to mark our center. We're going to go right up to the center and fold. And we're going to press that fold every time. So we're going to rotate, bring the corner up to the center, and press that fold. Rotate, bring the corner up to the center, press that fold, rotate, bring the corner up to the center, press that fold. We've got one more. This one more has to make a point. So let's rotate, bring this one up to the center. Do we make a nice sharp point right there? Yes. Okay. At this point, we need to retuck our edges so that we can make this kite shape nest together. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this curve right here. It's going to my right, and I'm going to swap it to the curve that's going to the left. So that's step one in nesting those edges to make this a hexagon that doesn't open up. Now I'm going to take that point and put it to the center. And I'm going to press that fold. And then there's a little trick here. It's a little tricky, but it is a good trick. So I want to show you the next step up close. Okay. When we can't do an overhead camera. When I do this last step, I'm taking the one that's opening and I want to fold that so that it stays closed. So just like the top of a cardboard box, we have to rearrange this fold and we're going to open up that fold. So it's making a little loop instead. Do you see the fold, that the crease that we folded? That crease has to match up to the center. Okay. And we want a nice crisp point out here. But now we've got this piece looping up in the middle. So we need to tuck that in. I'm going to use my Hera marker. And I'm going to do my best to show you how to tuck that in. And it's hard to show you holding it up like this, but I'm going to do it with the Hera marker. I'm going to push this piece in with my Hera marker. Do you see how it's creating a new fold by pushing this piece in with the hero marker. Now, I'm going to use this point of the hero marker, and I'm going to line up those folds inside here, that outer edge of my hexagon. I'm going to make sure that everything lines up, and I've got to manhandle it a little bit. I've got to make sure that this fold refolds beautifully along this edge so that I can get this point right into the center. And then let's put this point right into the center and keep tucking all the way around. Keep moving that fullness all the way around until all of the edges meet in the center. And you may have to refold just a tiny little bit to get it perfect and to make your perfect little hexagon. And now that's not going to pop open. So it's using your hero marker, laying this flat, and I'm going to take the point of the hero marker, and I'm going to start out at this point right here, and I'm going to make sure that my fold is laying. There's two folds there. Make sure they're laying one right next to the other. And the hero marker really makes that much easier by using that point to slide that fabric together and make sure all of my folds come together. So there you have it. We did this again yesterday. I filmed the entire thing from overhead, so I'll be able to edit this down, make a blog post out of it, and give you a slightly better visual with the camera overhead. Okay, so now that we have our hexagons, we're going to layer the 3 hexagons together. We're going to do the outside hexagon pointing up, the middle hexagon going straight across, the smallest hexagon pointing straight up, put our button in the middle, and now we need to make our ribbon pieces. So let's go ahead and talk about those ribbon pieces from my cutting station once again. So I'm going to take that darker color. Let me match that up to the fabric. Yeah, there we go. We've got that darker color, but guess what? I need 22 inches of it, and I don't have 22 inches. So I'm actually going to bring 2 colors together. I'm probably going to do this color and this color, and we're going to cut a strip that is 4 inches by 23. So let me move my circle templates, and we're going to fold this edge. I do have more of this fabric. So if I had more of the fabric, if I had a yard of fabric, I could go across this way and get all one color. That is 4 by 23, but I don't have that on this piece. So I'm going to wing it, and we're going to get a couple of colors together. Now, the other thing that you could do is you could make those ribbons separately. Instead of making it as one big long piece with the 22 inches long, I could go ahead and I could make those 2 ribbons separately, and then I would be able to use one color for both of those. So I tell you what, I'll probably will do that because I'm thinking that that darker blue is just not going to look great. Oh, gotta get my blade exposed here. I'm thinking that darker blue is not going to look great. So instead of doing the 4 by 22, I'm going to do 2 pieces that are 4 by 12, and that will work out just as well. So 4 by 12 is the measurement that I'm going for. And I'll show you how to make one side, and then you can make the other side easily on your own. So 4 by 12. All right, we're going to just put those 2 edges together, the long edges together, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch away from that long edge, and then we're going to put a 45 degree here on the end. Well, I'm not going to cut the end at a 45 degree. I'm just going to mark the end at a 45 degree. So I will be sewing 1/4 inch away from this edge, right? And then I'm going to turn and go 45 degrees this way. I'm going to bring this up to the camera so you can see this. All right. So this is how I'm going to make my 2 ribbons. I'm going to sew this with a 1/4 of an inch seam here all the way down. I'm going to stop at the 45 and I'm going to sew on the 45 right down to the point, but I'm going to take off a 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go a 1/4 of an inch shy of that line so that my sewing line doesn't go straight down to the point. It's a 1/4 of an inch up. Then I'll trim off that extra little triangle. And if I make 2 of these, I'm going to be able to turn those inside out to make 2 that look like this. Okay. Then I'm going to put them at the angle that I want them here at the bottom. And when I sew on my button, it's going to go through all of the layers. Now I did this one as one piece, 23 inches long, and just folded it. And I was able to make a pretty looking back. But guess what? It doesn't matter, because I want you to take a piece of cardstock. You could use an index card if you want to. I have some index cards up here. I'm trying to find a blank one. Or just use a piece of cardstock from a beautiful little card, right? You could take cards that you have printed, or just take an index card, and then you can cut your index card to fit on the back. Even make your index card into a hexagon, put that on the back, and you're going to cover up where you've sewn on your ribbon. And you could either hot glue this on, or you could use a double-faced tape or some glue to put this on, where you have a place to put the name of the quilt that wins, the event that it won for, and the year. That's all very important information. So now that I have my 3 ribbons, my red, my yellow, and my blue, I think it's going to be wonderful to also have a purple ribbon and make that ribbon. I'm either going to give it to the president in order to do a president's choice, or I'm going to hold off and I'm going to wait until I see the quilts. If I see a quilt that doesn't win, but it has a better use of the fabrics for the challenge or a better interpretation of the theme, then I'm going to call that ribbon best interpretation of the theme. If all of the quilts are already awarded that I think are the most deserving, the purple can be an honorable mention or the president's choice. So I would give that ribbon to the president and let her award a ribbon to her favorite quilt. Now, I'm going to tell you that the more ribbons, the better. When you can have somebody receive a ribbon for the first time, they are just going to be tickled pink to receive that ribbon. So the more ribbons that I have, the better. Maybe the next time I'm going to do some green ribbons or some pink ribbons, and put different reasons for giving ribbons to these award winners. We can do the best use of applique. We can do the best machine quilting. We can do the best hand applique or the best hand quilting. We could do a scrap quilt award like the one that I won at MQX. So the more ribbons, the merrier. It's so much fun to delight a quilter with winning a ribbon at your local quilt guild show, or in my case, at our local challenge. At our challenge night for our local guild. I'm thrilled to be able to award ribbons to these deserving quilters. So thank you so much for joining me for Sewing in Slippers with Sue today. I hope you enjoyed making ribbons, and I hope you'll make some homemade ribbons for your next event, whether it be a dog show or a quilt show or the best chocolate chip cookies. Everybody deserves to have that experience of being the best at something and winning a ribbon that they can proudly display. So thanks for joining me. I'm going to head up to New Hampshire now, and I will be seeing all of you very soon. Take care, and we'll see you again next Tuesday on Sewing in Slippers with Sue. Bye, everyone.